mission message. In this moment, I want to talk a little bit about something that we often hear and talk about called taking back your power. And it seems to me that this is often interpreted as to mean, like, how do I even put it? To be passive aggressive. That's what it seems to come across as, is to pretend not to care when we really care, to date someone else instead of waiting for someone, to not to armor ourselves so that we feel certain feelings, to put over focus into work or other things, to not be accepting of those who have messed up in the past coming forward and saying, hey, I really want to work on this, or hey, I'm still here thinking about you. Like, it seems like taking your power back has been misinterpreted as be aggressive, be mean, be, passive aggressive, be emotionless, things like that. And that is not at all the message that our benevolent guides and angels and deities and beings are trying to pass on to us. Which, to me, the biggest sign in it is look at what you're doing. Like, if you're in a place where you're like, I've taken my power back, look around, okay? Like, do you have any close connections that feel good and warm and easy, where you don't feel like you have to take your power back, where you feel like there's an equal power dynamic in there? When you're taking your power back, do you feel good about you? That's a big indicator, because what taking your power back actually means is taking your identity, like owning your identity, and owning the part of you that always connects with spirit, which is always a lover, always forgiving, always unconditional. And no, that doesn't mean that part of us has crappy boundaries. It means that's the part of us that sees the light in everyone. And think about it, when you are observing the light in other people, it feels really, really good, doesn't it? And usually it feels really, really good until some other human comes along and says, but wait a minute, didn't they mess up before? Or it could be a voice in your head, or it could be an actual friend or family member or somebody else. But wait a minute, didn't they do a bad thing before? What if they do that bad thing again? And then we feel shitty because then we're observing things that they've done in the past that were not great. And then we start thinking about things that we've done in the past that were not great. And then we feel like crap, right? This is, I think, the main message that's coming through for twins is, like, really think about how what you're doing makes you feel, because you may be misinterpreting what the mission or the message is, and you can tell if you are based on how you feel about what you're doing. When you armor yourself up so that nobody can get in, how's that feel? I mean, maybe you feel safer because there's nobody there to disappoint you or to suggest that you're disappointing them. Nobody there to hurt your feelings or not answer your calls or, things like that. Sure. But how do you feel? Do you feel like are you able to refill your own cup and enjoy walks in nature and have connections with yourself, with spirit and stuff like do you feel good in that space? If you do, great. Fuck yeah, you've gotten to a level where you can surrender to the moments of solitude that come across in life, and that's freaking beautiful. Though if you're not feeling that way and you feel just lonely or depressed, or like you can't trust anybody, and like, you're interpreting taking your power back as not opening up to trust anyone, think about how that feels. I don't know a lot of people that actually feel good when they're in that energy. And usually when you talk to them and you go, yeah, well, what are you doing to take your power back? Well, I'm not talking to them because they did this and this, and then the story goes on about how many ways they've been hurt and why they do it. And rarely is there any talk about, you know what, I'm really loving the idea of focusing on this aspect of my life. Like, you really want to work on getting better at mundane chores, or I really want to go for more walks, or I really want to do a little more traveling, and I'm really enjoying focusing on that. And it feels like that's bringing my power back to me because I'm focusing on things that I love that bring me joy. Like, think about that. If you were in that state, you're taking your power back and you feel love. Love for yourself, love for the world around you, love for your DM or DF, love for anybody else that might come along the way too. And here's the thing too, is when we misinterpret taking our power back and we take it to a place of we have to be powerful, we don't feel good. And we're in a constant struggle for what do I need to feel powerful? Because when we are seeking to feel powerful, to feel like we're standing in our power, we're externally seeking. At least that's how it usually starts. We're externally seeking. How can I feel powerful if I don't have somebody else who is telling me they see me as powerful, or acting in a way that confirms for me that I am powerful, or, it goes on. Whereas when you stand in your power in the sense of, look at how you feel. When it's just you. When you don't have anybody else telling you their story, when you don't have anybody else asking about your story as you've known it, when I'm not even kidding. Like, if you can, like, if you're already in an alone space and in solitude, then this is great. If you're not, then go find some. Take some every day, like 4 or 5 hours, like really long amounts where you're not texting anybody, you're not calling anybody, you're not caretaking anybody, you're not working, and just sit and see where your mind goes. Where does it go on its own? And do this, often, because it's not always going to be the same, but you will start to notice a consistency of thoughts. And when you think about reaching out to someone, what are you going to reach out for? Are you going to reach out because you want to process and think about some not good feeling stuff that's happened? Or do you call people because you want to see how they're doing? Because you want to hear about positive things that they are manifesting, so that, in your mind, you can think about the things they're doing and know that you're helping to positively co-create that experience for them? Or do you call people because you want to hear about the icky things going on in their lives, either because you're worried about them, or it makes you feel less alone in that you're thinking about icky things? What is the reason that you choose to connect with people? Is it to fill a need? Or is it to fulfill a need? Or is it simply because you enjoy human connection with the people that you're connecting with? Which is another question, especially when you're quote unquote standing in your power. Who are you connecting with? Are you standing in your power on your own, whether you're connecting with friends or others? Are you standing in your power on your own because it feels good to stand in your power? Or are you standing in your power because you've got people around you that are saying you're not being treated right and you're not doing the right thing, and nobody else would put up with that, and nobody else would go through this, and why are you doing that? Are you standing in your power because others are telling you it's the right thing to do? And in doing that, are you... Okay, this is really, really funny. How distracted are you? Because, right in front of me, I'm at a park. It's a swimming park. But somebody got out of their car, and it looked like he was getting ready to, strip. Just strip. And I'm thinking, no, he's got to have swim trunks on, right? But then he's, reaching into his pants and doing his, I don't know, adjustments and things like that. And I'm thinking, maybe this guy is, drunk, and he's just about ready to, really strip here. Now, it looks like he is going to go swimming, but I think that that's relevant to this message in the sense of, what are you paying attention to? What's being called into your vibration? I know what it is for me. I enjoy absurdities, right? I enjoy things that and this is somebody that's right in front of me. It's not something that I was looking around for it or looking for it. This is something that's happening in front of me, right? So in that message of it, look at, when you think about standing in your power, what's right in front of you that, either you're seeing and it's causing you to stand in your power, or that you're refusing to see. Because a lot of times there can be things right in front of you that could be answers to all the questions that you want, that they can be things to make you laugh a little bit. They could be things that might make you want to turn away. They can be things that might make you want to go and say, hey, what in the world are you doing? Like what are the things that are right in front of you, especially when you say you're standing in your power. Or when you say that you're standing in your power, does it feel like a field of flowers that you can go and wander through and it feels comfortable and good, and that along the way you're going to find treasures and cool experiences and have great stories to tell? Or does it feel like you're standing in your power because you've been in so much pain for so long that you don't want to be in pain anymore and you don't want to feel weak anymore? So you're going to the other end of the depression's continuum into anger and resentment and betrayal, and you're using that energy to lift yourself up, which, by the way, isn't a bad thing. Because in order to get from low vibe depression energy, you go up often into anger. But the problem is a lot of times then we shame ourselves for being angry, and we don't look at what the shadow work is in there. So when you're standing in your power, and it's not standing in the power of love, standing in the power of spirit, standing in the power of fun, standing in the power of upliftment, that means it's standing in the power of betrayal, standing in the power of pain, standing in the power of resentment. And when you get there, if you stay in that place, you're just going to keep going back through the old karmic cycles: depression and anger, depression and anger, depression and anger. And in between those, passive aggressiveness and juggling and thinking about options and I'm so lonely and like going in and out of all that stuff. Whereas if you get to the point where you're standing in your power and you see that it's built on resentment or anger or pain, then you can look at that stuff. You're much more action oriented and much more stable when you get to a place of standing in your power, even if it's from anger. But it only stays that way when you are conscious of it, when you choose what the meaning of stand in your power is, and you choose to give it meaning based on good feelings. And think about it too, like if you've got a twin who has been, let's say, mirroring you, but in a third party, and you're looking at them going, I don't understand how you can give so much of yourself to this situation that you say it makes you miserable, and then you try to stand in your power, and then you falter and you go between depression and anger. So you got them in that situation. Now, you may not have chosen like a third party romantic situation that's mirroring them, but you are mirroring them. And here's the thing: a lot of times people decide to stand in their power simply because they believe that it will trigger the runner-chaser dynamic and cause their twin to come towards them, which does often happen. However, it only happens when you stand in your power in good feeling ways, because what you're observing in them is a reflection of you, and what they observe in you is a reflection of them, and both of you are not standing in your power in sustainable, pleasurable ways. You're not seeing the truth of the situations that you're in. So you both stand in your power, but you're both resentful, contemptuous, betrayed, angry, and then you wonder why you're standing in your power, but your twin ain't coming towards you. Because you can always tell how your twin is feeling, almost to a T, by how you're feeling. It doesn't matter if it's fair or not. That is the way that it works. And it's actually its own sign of immaturity if you're stuck on the "but it's not fair" thing. Because guess what they're thinking? They're sitting there thinking about their story too, and how life ain't fair and it's not been good to them, and why can't they make this work? Why did they screw it up with you? Why do you want this? Why can't they make it work with the karmic? Why this, and that? And then they try to stand in their power and become assholes, and then wonder why nobody wants to interact with them anymore. Guess what? We do it too. We do it too. Sometimes the 1-to-1 ratio could be like, you need to pick up some garbage in your yard, or you need to declutter your house, or you need to renew your altar. And for them, they need to redo their whole lifestyle. They need to rethink all of their lifestyle choices, but it's still there. And if you are quote unquote standing in your power, but all you're doing is telling people you're standing in your power, and you're listening to readings where people are saying, hey, the masculines are doing good, and you're going, but I don't care because I'm standing in my power. I was done with that so long ago. For one thing, you're not really standing in your power. You're standing in a power. But that's the same power that your twin is using. It's the same power that the karmics are using. How have you gotten yourself out of any karmic cycle if that's what you're doing? Whereas instead, if you take a look and you observe all the people around you, and what you're seeing is a continuum of this hero, villain, victim cycle, and you want out of it, and you also want faithful love, and you also want to enjoy the journey, then start to really examine all the ways that you can stand in your power and feel pleasurable about it. I hesitate to say and feel great about it, because a lot of people will get into standing in their power, and the power they're standing in is resentment. It's not even their power, but it feels powerful, and for a little while you get that adrenaline rush and the dopamine rush, and you're like, yeah, I feel great. But it doesn't last. That's how you can really tell the difference. That's why, gratitude is a very sustainable emotion and intention and energy to live within, and anger isn't. Dragon hunting isn't. Looking for deceptions and observing what people are doing wrong. It's not sustainable. It doesn't feed you. It's like if you had, let's say a cup in tarot, but it had a hole in the bottom of it, and by the time that you put water in it and you bring it up to your lips to get a little bit, most of it is already drained out through the big hole in the bottom. You might get a couple of sips. But how much time are you going to spend putting that cup into the water, trying to get a couple of sips to sustain yourself, until you decide, you know what, it's probably much more worthy of my time to either fix the hole in the cup, in my own cup, or to make myself a new cup that is a little more durable, a little more sustainable, and built on things that make me feel good. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and leave this message here. Comments are welcome if you'd like to leave them, and I'll catch you in the next video.